Hi, my name is Colin White. I'm a volunteer at ScienceWorks. I'm also a NASA Solar System Ambassador, which is a volunteer role with NASA, whereby they give me information about their missions, and in return I agree to do outreach programs like this so I can share information about those missions with folks like you. And today I'm going to be talking about a very important mission that will take place tomorrow, all being well, if the weather's good and the technology works. And this is actually a launch of a spacecraft to the International Space Station. This mission is called Launch America. It's a very special launch, and this chart explains why. NASA will be using a SpaceX rocket to launch 2 astronauts to the International Space Station. And this is the first time in nearly 10 years that NASA's launched a rocket from American soil using American technology to launch 2 American astronauts to the International Space Station. And I'm going to share a video with you that talks about the program and this mission and how it works.
NASA's Commercial Crew Program is ready for launch. Did you know the last time we launched astronauts from America was in 2011?
NASA is working with companies Boeing and SpaceX to take astronauts to the International Space Station from America once again. Let's look at how this will happen.
Look at the spacecraft on top of the rocket. This is where humans will be sitting. The astronauts will be buckled into a spacecraft, stacked on top of the rocket as it is launched into space. The rocket holds all of the fuel needed to get to space.
It takes a lot of energy to lift the rocket off the ground, with gravity constantly pulling it down, which is why most of the rocket is filled with fuel. During the rocket's climb to space, it will increase in speed, which means its energy will also increase. Once the rocket has made it past Earth's atmosphere, the engine will finally cut off. The rocket and the spacecraft will separate, and the astronauts will make their way toward the station, where they will be working on science experiments and engineering projects.
What do you think will happen when the spacecraft travels back to Earth?
Boeing has made the Starliner CST-100 to keep astronauts safe as they travel to and from the station. It's designed to touch down safely on land in the western United States. Starliner has parachutes it will use as it prepares for landing, but will also have large airbags expanding under the spacecraft to cushion the landing for the astronauts before stopping completely.
SpaceX's Crew Dragon was also created to send astronauts to and from the space station. As the spacecraft comes back to Earth, the outside will experience temperatures over 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The Crew Dragon has been designed to keep the astronauts inside comfortable during the ride home to Earth. Once they are back in the atmosphere, the spacecraft will release 4 main parachutes to slow down the speed and energy of the vehicle before it splashes down in the Atlantic Ocean or Gulf of Mexico. These spacecraft are exciting sneak peeks at the future of space travel.
And NASA's Commercial Crew Program.
Want to know more about space travel? Check out this website for more information.
NASA then, as we saw from that video, will be using 2 companies to launch rockets to the space station. One is Boeing and 2 is SpaceX. The mission tomorrow will be the SpaceX flight. SpaceX has already done this flight before, but without astronauts. It was called the Demo 1 test flight. And this was actually to test out the technology without risking real astronauts. One thing you will see in a minute, I'm going to show you a video about this test flight. One thing they put on that rocket was a mannequin that looked very much like an astronaut, and they called this mannequin Ripley. And Ripley had lots of sensors on it, so it could actually look at the forces and the pressures on the astronauts during the launch. So as I show you this video, see if you can see Ripley.
Ice launch trajectory and countdown net. Pad is clear. Go for launch.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Lift supersonic.
Stage separation confirmed.
Exec ignition.
Landing leg pad deployed, and Falcon 9 has landed. Dragon, separation confirmed.
Houston Station, space ground to ISS thrusters enabled.
Houston Station, Dragon hatch opened at 13:07. On behalf of Ripley, Little Earth, myself, and our crew, welcome to the Crew Dragon.
Houston Station on suit, ISS crew is ready for departure. Separation, fusion confirmed. We have visual on Doug. We have 4 healthy sheep.
Recover this is DRC. Dragon has landed.
I always find launches like that exciting to watch. I actually want to go to Kennedy Space Center and actually see a launch live. I think that would be kind of neat, don't you? So tomorrow's a special day. It's really the final test of the SpaceX technology. That's why this is called Demonstration 2. If everything goes well, then NASA will continue to use the SpaceX technology to actually fly astronauts to the space station. I thought it might be interesting at this point to talk about the space station in a little bit more detail. The construction on the space station started some 20 years ago. And so I thought it might be interesting to discuss a little bit about what it looks like. And that's where we were going to go next. And after that, I'll look at some of the experiments that are done on the space station to actually look at really what are its goals and objectives. So one way to find out about really all the various pieces and components of the space station is to go to the nasa.gov site. The nasa.gov site contains a lot of information about the International Space Station and other missions. And as you can see on the right-hand side, the overview section of the International Space Station part of that website talks about the various components of the space station. Really at the heart of the space station, though, are these modules shown here. These modules were built cooperatively by various space agencies of various countries. So really, it is the International Space Station because it was built by a number of different space agencies. So on the left-hand side, we see the Russian modules. On the right-hand side, we see the Japanese module. Next to the Japanese module, we see the US module. The European Space Agency, the Canadian Space Agency also participated in this construction project. And it's in these modules that the astronauts live and work and sleep and eat and perform their experiments. But rather than look at diagrams, it's much more interesting to actually go on a tour of the space station. And there are a number of these you can find on the web. I'm going to share one with you, a virtual tour built by the European Space Agency. I like this one because you can navigate your way around the various modules. The map at the top right-hand side tells you where you are. The other thing I like are there are those little blue buttons there, those blue little arrows. If you click on those, they tell you a little bit more information about the various pieces of the module that you're currently in. So when you first start the tour, using the link that I show you on this slide, you start off in the Columbus module. The Columbus module was built by the European Space Agency. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff in here, isn't there? Looks like my office. No, I think this equipment's more sophisticated. So a lot of things in here. Notice how, I think particularly if you look here, like this storage area, everything is tied down. And the reason is the space station is in what's called a microgravity environment. It orbits the Earth, and so the gravity isn't as high as it is on Earth, and things float. And so if it wasn't secured like that, things would float around and bump into everybody, which could be a bit of a problem. So this is the European Space Agency module, and as I pointed out, if you click on things or just point your cursor on things, it tells you what each of the pieces are. This is the hatch. What's down here? So it says, my name is Paxi. I'm an explorer from another planet. That sounds pretty interesting. I guess this is Paxi. In fact, if you go to the European Space Agency site, ESA, and basically do a Google search, ESA Paxi, you will find a lot of materials about the space station and little experiments and things you can build at home about the space station. So you might find that interesting to do. Let's go forward to node 2, so that we're now here, moving to the center of the diagram here. This module is called Harmony. If we were to go left, we would go to the Japanese module. If I look at this, it's a fire extinguisher. Fire is a really major concern on the space station. You don't want a fire on the space station. What's this? This is the crew quarters. Doesn't look a lot of room in there, does there? In fact, the crew sleep standing up. That seems a bit odd, doesn't it? I'm not sure I'd like to sleep standing up. But if you think about it, there's no real up or down on the space station, so it doesn't really mean too much, I think. That's Destiny. That's where we've already been. Looks like another crew quarter here. Let's go around and see what else we can find. That goes back to Columbus. That's Kobe, as I mentioned. Going around in circles here, aren't I? That's Destiny. Let's go to Destiny. So we're now here. That's the US lab. A lot of NASA experiments in here. A lot of interesting things. This is an experiment. Experiments about microgravity. That takes us to node 2, where we've already been. We go around again. What else do we have here? That's experimenting with filtering systems. This is a robotic workstation. Let's go to node 1 and figure out what we can see in here. What's this? Oh, that's the oven. That's the space station oven. It's not very big as an oven goes, is it? But space station, there's not a lot of space on the space station. So you have to be, it's very compact. And we've got an analyzer for hazardous gases. Again, that's not something you want on the space station. That goes to the Russian module there. One interesting thing is that, several hundred astronauts have visited the space station now, so they leave their stickers behind, their patches behind. So you see a lot of those as you go around the space station. Let's go to node 3 and see what we can see in here. Again, everything is very secured down, isn't it? You can see that. What else do we have here? Anything else of great interest? It goes back to node 1. What's this? Oh, the toilet. That's very important, isn't it? There are 2 toilets on the space station. That's very important, obviously. That's the bathroom, which is, we've already mentioned. Again, looks a lot of supplies in here, and we can sort of go around any direction we want to. Here it looks like we see an astronaut. Who's this? That's Samantha, European Space Agency astronaut. That's the cupola. When we'll see later on that the space station photographs the Earth every day, and those photographs are taken from the cupola. So you can look outside the space station and look at what's around you, particularly look at the Earth. So you get an idea for what's involved with this tour. There's quite a lot to it. It's quite fun. So if it interests you, go to this link and see what you can find. So I hope you enjoyed the tour of the space station. It's kind of fun, isn't it? The next question is, well, why did we build the space station? Why was it built? Why is it up there? What are the astronauts doing up there? As I mentioned, it's close to 20 years ago now that the space station was first started construction. In fact, on November the 2nd, it'll be its 20th birthday. So what's gone on in those 20 years? The key thing here is that the space station is a unique location for doing experiments. You can do experiments you can't do on Earth. If you think about it, if astronauts are going to go to Mars, they're going to have to understand what it's like living in space. They're going to have to grow their own food, as we see here in this picture. 2 astronauts are growing food. Some pretty impressive lettuces on the right-hand side there, isn't there? So they're going to have to learn to grow food in space, and they need to understand how it's different growing food in space than it is on Earth. They can't take all the water they need to drink with them. Water's heavy, it's expensive to launch into space, so they're going to have to recycle water. So these are the kind of experiments that the astronauts can do that they can't do on Earth. And all of these experiments are of benefit to us on Earth as well. So for example, if an astronaut becomes sick, they can't visit the doctor. If they require an operation, there's no hospital to go to. But they can talk to doctors across a network connection who can try and understand what's wrong with them. If they need surgery, they may have robots on their spaceships that can operate on them. And these are useful on Earth. If we've got people living in areas where there aren't doctors and hospitals, these technologies can help them. If they don't have access to clean drinking water, they can use the filtration methods used on the space station to filter their own water to make it better for drinking. And so through events like this, we can also do education there. Students like yourself can learn about all these experiments that are going on in the space station. And you can go onto the NASA website and learn a lot about these experiments. Next question is, well, can I actually see the space station from Earth? When it goes around the Earth, can I actually see it? And then, if I'm an astronaut on the space station, well, what does Earth look like? So let's try and answer both those questions. This is my system at home. It's called ISS Above, and at the moment I'm running it all the time because we're about to do this launch and I want to understand what's going on. So this system's called ISS Above. It's a little computer. On the left-hand side, it tells me where the space station is on Earth. And it actually, already in orbit around the Earth. It also tells me when it's about to pass over my house. I can run outside, see it go over and wave to the astronauts. Obviously they don't see me, they're too far above out in space, but it's kind of fun to do that. On the right-hand side, I can also look at the cameras that are on the space station because they transmit real-time video to Earth, and I can pick up that video in the same way as I can a TV station. So it's quite fun to see Earth from the space station. But you don't need ISS Above, this technology I use at home. You can use the web to do the same things. For example, NASA has an application called Spot the Station. You simply type in the town you live in, and it will tell you when you can expect the space station to appear over your town. So you can use this. You can just search for Spot the Station, and up in the corner up here it's got a little push button that says Sighting Opportunity. You click on that and it will tell you when it's going to come over your house next. The one thing I will mention, you will have to type in Medford rather than Ashland to get that data. It's just the way this application works. So this is some sighting data that I typed in when I created this presentation. And as you can see, it tells you a date and it tells you the time when the space station will be visible and how long it will be visible for. And it will tell you where in the sky it is. And ideally, you need to do this over night time before you go to bed, so you don't want to be too late. So, for example, on May the 17th, it will come over 8:57 in the evening, and you will see it for 6 minutes, and it will be about halfway up in the sky for 40 degrees. And so if you rush outside at that time and look towards the west, as it says here, you will see it come over. It's a bright light that comes across the sky. It doesn't come across all the way. It will suddenly appear. It appear for a few minutes and disappear again. And it's really fun to watch. And you can, as I said, you can wave to the astronauts as they go across. They won't see you, but it's kind of fun. There is also, I said, there's a real-time video feed from the space station of what the astronauts see, their views of the Earth. And this link here, and we'll put this in the linkages at the end of the presentation. If you go to that link, you can see what the cameras on the space station are seeing in the same way as I can on my system at home. If you want to go back and look at what the space station has seen in the past, you can use this application called Windows on Earth. And it will show you all the pictures that have been taken over the years of the space station. And there's some pretty cool pictures there. And associated with this website is another website called Mystery Images from Space. And again, you can get to it directly by the link shown here. And it shows you images of various kinds, and you have to guess what the images are. So I'm going to show you a couple of images and see if you can figure out what the photograph is of. And on Thursday, we'll tell you the answers. So the first mystery image from space is a city. That's a city from the air as seen from the space station. Pretty, isn't it, from space? A lot of lights. And there's a little clue there. It's the most populous city in the US. And I'll give you another clue. It's on the East Coast. So see if you can look at that and figure out what city it is. So that's in the US. Let's go to Japan. What a beautiful mountain that is. It looks volcanic, doesn't it? And in fact, it is a volcano. It's an active volcano. If you've ever looked at pictures of mountains in Japan, there's a good chance you'll have seen a photograph of this. In fact, it's the most famous mountain in Japan. So have a think about it and see if you can figure out what mountain that is, what active volcano that is. And as I said, on Thursday, we'll tell you the answers to those two questions. But it's quite fun to go to this website anyway. You can look at pictures of mountains, you can look at pictures of rivers, you can look at pictures of cities, and it's quite fun to try and figure what they are, what the astronauts are seeing from space. So that's the end of my presentation. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I hope you are. As I said, you can see it live on NASA TV. This is a simulation of what the spacecraft would look like when it docks with the space station. And hopefully we'll be able to see that. So tomorrow on Wednesday, we'll see it launch, and it arrives at the space station on Thursday. So you should be able to see it launch, and you should be able to see it dock with the space station. But remember, it depends on the weather, and it depends on if the technology works first time. But I hope you've enjoyed the presentation, and if you decide to look at NASA TV tomorrow, have fun.